There comes a quiet moment in every life when the soul gets tired of smiling through pain, of saying yes while the heart whispers no. We are taught to be polite, to be agreeable, to keep the peace, even when that peace is built on our silence. But hear this truth today. You were not born to shrink yourself so others could stand taller. As we step into 2026, it is time to lay down the heavy burden of being too nice and pick up the sacred responsibility of being true. This is not a call to become harsh or bitter. It is a call to become honest, brave, and whole. Because the world does not need more quiet suffering. It needs people who know their worth and are no longer afraid to live it. Kindness has been misunderstood for far too long. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that being kind means being quiet, that grace requires swallowing our words, that love asks us to disappear for the comfort of others. But kindness was never meant to erase you. Kindness is a light, and light does not hide itself in dark corners. It shows up, it speaks, it reveals. When you silence your truth to keep everyone comfortable, you are not being kind. You are being absent from your own life. There is a voice inside you that knows when something is wrong. It tightens your chest when you agree to what hurts you. It grows tired when you smile through disrespect. That voice is not rude, and it is not selfish. It is wise. It is the part of you that remembers who you are. Every time you ignore it in the name of politeness, you teach the world that your feelings matter less than approval. And over time, that lesson begins to wound you in ways no one else can see. Speaking your truth does not make you unkind. It makes you honest. There is a gentle power in saying, "This does not work for me," without anger and without apology. Truth can be spoken softly and still stand firm. You do not need to raise your voice to be heard. You only need to stop lowering it. When you choose honesty, you invite healthier relationships, because only what is real can truly connect. Understand this. Silence does not protect you, it slowly drains you. The words you do not speak do not disappear. They settle into your body, into your spirit, into your sleep. They show up as exhaustion, as resentment, as a quiet sadness you cannot explain. Kindness should never cost you your peace. Love should never demand that you abandon yourself at the door. The world may resist the first time you speak up. People who benefited from your silence may call you difficult, changed, or cold. Let them talk. Growth always unsettles what was comfortable. You are not here to be easy to manage. You are here to be alive, awake, and whole. Your voice is not a threat. It is a boundary, and boundaries are acts of self-respect. As we move forward, let kindness be expansive, not shrinking. Let it include you. Let it sound like truth spoken with calm courage. When you honor your voice, you give others permission to honor theirs. And in that shared honesty, something beautiful happens. Respect is born, peace becomes real, and kindness finally stands tall. No longer silent, no longer small, but strong enough to hold the truth. There is a quiet strength in the word no, a strength many of us were never taught to recognize. We were raised to believe that refusal is rude, that boundaries are walls, that saying yes is the price of being loved. But the truth is this: every time you say yes to something that diminishes you, you are slowly saying no to yourself. Your life begins to change the moment you understand that your boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges that lead you back to your own peace. A boundary is not an act of rebellion, and it is not a rejection of love. It is an act of clarity. It says, "This is where I end, and you begin." When you honor that line, you protect your energy, your time, and your spirit. Without boundaries, you become overextended, drained, and quietly resentful. With boundaries, you become present, grounded, and whole. You cannot pour into others from an empty place and still call it kindness. Many people fear that setting boundaries will make them lonely. But the truth is, it only removes the relationships that were built on your silence and sacrifice. Those who truly care for you will learn to meet you with respect. Those who leave were never standing with you to begin with. Letting go is not a loss when what you are losing is the habit of self-betrayal. Your no is not cruel, it is clean, it is honest, it creates space for a deeper yes, the yes to rest, to growth, to purpose, to joy. When you stop explaining yourself endlessly, you reclaim your power. You do not owe everyone access to your time, your emotions, or your dreams. Privacy is a form of peace, and boundaries are the doors that protect it. There will be moments when enforcing your boundaries feels uncomfortable. Your voice may shake, your heart may race. That does not mean you are wrong, it means you are growing. Courage often arrives disguised as discomfort. Each time you stand firm, you teach yourself that your needs matter. Each time you choose yourself, you rewrite the story that says your worth depends on how much you give away. In 2026, let your boundaries be guided by love, not fear. Love for your future self, love for your well-being, love for the life you are trying to build. When you honor your limits, you move through the world with dignity instead of exhaustion. You show up not as someone trying to please, but as someone rooted in self-respect. And something remarkable happens then. Your peace deepens. Your confidence grows quiet but unshakable. You stop asking for permission to exist as you are. Because the moment you protect your boundaries, you remember this sacred truth. Your life is not meant to be managed by others. It is meant to be lived by you. There is a habit many of us carry so quietly that we barely notice its weight. It sounds like sorry when nothing wrong was done. It looks like shrinking your dreams before anyone can question them. It feels like asking permission to breathe, to speak, to want more. Over time, this habit teaches you to believe that your presence is an inconvenience, that your needs are too much, that your desires should be edited to fit the comfort of others. But you were never meant to live as an apology. You do not need to be sorry for taking up space in a room, in a conversation, or in this world. Space is not something you steal. It is something you are allowed to occupy by the simple fact that you exist. When you soften your voice, minimize your success, or hide your hunger for more, you are not being humble. You are being taught to disappear. And disappearing slowly erodes the joy you were meant to feel in your own life. There is nothing shameful about having needs. Hunger does not make the body weak, it reminds it to live. In the same way, your emotional, mental, and spiritual needs are signals, not flaws. When you apologize for them, you deny yourself nourishment. You teach others that caring for you is optional, and you teach yourself that endurance is more important than fulfillment. But you were not born just to endure. You were born to experience wholeness. Dreaming boldly does not make you arrogant. It makes you honest about the fire placed inside you. The world may try to convince you to keep your dreams small, manageable, and quiet, but small dreams were never meant for expansive souls. When you apologize for your ambition, you dim a light that could guide others. Your dreams are not an insult to anyone else's life. They are a promise to your own. Let go of the reflex to explain yourself. Not everyone needs a reason. Not everyone deserves a window into your choices. When you stop justifying your existence, you reclaim your authority. You move through the world with a steadiness that does not beg to be understood. You begin to trust that your inner knowing is enough. There will be moments when not apologizing feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Old patterns will whisper that you are being selfish or difficult. But listen closely. Those whispers come from a past where your worth depended on how little you asked for. You are allowed to outgrow that past. Growth often looks like standing still in your truth while the world adjusts around you. As you move forward, let your presence be firm and gentle at the same time. Speak without shrinking, dream without guilt, need without shame. When you stop apologizing for existing, you step into a deeper kind of freedom, the freedom of knowing that your life is not a burden, it is a gift, and it was never meant to be wrapped in an apology. When we speak of being too nice, we often forget that niceness has a cost. It can feel harmless at first, smiling when you are tired, agreeing when you want to say no, bending when you long to stand tall. But over time, this habit begins to cut away pieces of who you are. Niceness without self-worth is not generosity, it is self-betrayal. Every time you put someone else's comfort above your own dignity, you teach yourself that your value is negotiable, that your feelings are secondary, that your spirit can be quietly compromised. Being nice is not a crime, it is a gift. But gifts are meant to be given freely, not at the expense of your own soul. When kindness turns into a way of surviving approval, it stops being virtue and starts being a wound. People can sense it, the subtle exhaustion in your eyes, the hesitation in your words, the quiet resignation that settles in your shoulders. You may think you are keeping the peace, but in reality, you are silently eroding your own foundation. Every compromise that leaves you diminished becomes a debt to yourself that grows heavier with time. It is not easy to say no to someone you care about, to refuse when the world expects you to bend, to protect yourself while others protest. That discomfort is precisely the point. The cost of staying too nice is invisibly steep, and breaking that habit feels like rebellion because it is. It is a rebellion against the belief that your worth is determined by how much you accommodate others. It is a reclamation of the dignity that was quietly taken every time you silenced your needs. Self-respect is not loud. It does not need applause or explanation. It is the quiet, unshakable insistence that you will not give away what is yours for the sake of convenience. When you honor your own boundaries, when you refuse to diminish yourself to please, you begin to see that your value was never in question. It was never about how much you gave. It was about how fully you recognized your own worth. This is a lesson that no one else can teach you. It must be felt, lived, and defended in every small choice you make. Let your niceness be intentional, not habitual. Let it come from a place of strength, not fear. When you are genuinely kind, it radiates power and presence, not weakness and compromise. The world benefits from generosity that is freely given, from compassion that is rooted in wholeness, from love that does not demand the sacrifice of self. In 2026, refuse to let your kindness cost you your dignity. Let it be a reflection of your strength, your clarity, and your deep understanding that to honor yourself is the highest form of giving you can ever offer. When you reclaim your worth, you teach the world a new kind of courage, the courage to be kind, but never at the expense of who you are. What we allow becomes the language others learn to speak to us. Every time we stay silent in the face of disrespect, every time we accept less than we deserve, we are teaching the world how it can treat us. It is not malicious on their part, it is simply human to follow the cues we give. If your boundaries are weak, if your needs are whispered instead of voiced, if your truth is hidden beneath politeness, people will walk into your life assuming that quiet compliance is your standard. They will push, test, and take because you have never shown them otherwise. The lesson is both simple and profound. You are the teacher of your own respect. If you allow slights to slide, you are teaching tolerance of hurt. If you smile when someone crosses a line, you are teaching that your peace is negotiable. If you apologize for your choices, you are teaching that your life is a favor granted to others, not a gift in its own right. Every action, every word, every moment of self-abandonment communicates a rule that says it is okay to diminish you, to take from you, to ask more than you can give without consequence. You cannot control how others will respond, but you can control the standards you set. When you speak up, you do not merely protect yourself, you educate. You show the world that respect is not optional. You demonstrate that honesty and integrity have a place even when it is uncomfortable. People learn not through lectures or warnings, but through the steady, repeated example of someone who refuses to compromise their dignity. Your life becomes a lesson in the art of self-respect. There will be those who resist the boundaries you set. Some will argue, protest, or attempt to guilt you into old patterns. This is not a sign of your failure. It is a natural response to change. They are learning new rules, rules that require them to honor you as you honor yourself. Change always meets resistance, especially when it challenges their expectations. Stand firm. Hold your line with grace. The clarity of your example will eventually teach them more than words ever could. The beauty of this principle is its ripple effect. When you model self-respect, others around you are inspired to do the same. You set a standard that becomes contagious, a quiet revolution of dignity and boundaries. The world does not always reward courage immediately, but it notices it, and over time, it adjusts to the presence of someone who refuses to be diminished. You become the living proof that respect begins with yourself, and that what you will no longer tolerate shapes the way others treat you. In 2026, let your actions speak louder than any apology or explanation. Let your boundaries be visible, firm, and consistent. Show through your choices that you value your time, your voice, and your spirit. People will watch, they will learn, and they will adjust. What you tolerate today does indeed become the rule they follow tomorrow. But when you teach them with quiet strength and unwavering clarity, the rule becomes one of respect, dignity, and truth. You hold the power not only to shape your life, but to influence the way the world honors it. There is a common misconception that strength must roar, that power must be loud, and that those who are gentle are somehow weak. But true strength does not need to prove itself with noise or force. It exists quietly, like a deep river flowing beneath the surface, steady and unshakable. Being gentle is not the absence of power. It is the presence of control, of self-awareness, of a calm confidence that does not require validation. Grace is not fragile. Grace is deliberate, intentional, and anchored in truth. Being soft does not mean being passive. It means moving through the world without unnecessary harm while remaining steadfast in your convictions. It means holding your boundaries without anger, speaking your truth without hostility, and choosing your battles with wisdom. There is a subtle authority in someone who listens deeply, responds thoughtfully, and refuses to be pushed into chaos by the impatience or aggression of others. That authority does not scream. It commands attention simply by existing fully in its own integrity. When you combine gentleness with firmness, you create a force that is both magnetic and immovable. People notice it, even if they cannot explain why. They are drawn to it, not because it conforms to their expectations, but because it radiates a rare confidence, the knowledge that you do not have to dominate to matter. You do not have to compete to be seen. Your presence, your calm, your unshakable center becomes a lighthouse in a world often stormy with demands, noise, and conflict. Softness can hold boundaries. Softness can enforce limits. Softness can confront injustice. It does so not with fear or aggression, but with clarity and self-respect. There is courage in maintaining composure when others are losing theirs. There is power in choosing the words you speak, the energy you give, and the battles you fight. To be gentle is to be intentional. To be firm is to be wise. Together, they are a language of strength that commands respect without ever raising a fist. People will sometimes mistake gentleness for weakness and test it. They will push against it, expecting it to bend, break, or crumble. Do not let their confusion shake you. Every act of measured patience, every decision to respond rather than react, every refusal to be drawn into unnecessary conflict reinforces the truth. Your strength does not need to shout. It is resilient, consistent, and enduring. It stands when chaos rages and bends only when it chooses, not because it must. In 2026, let your strength be like water, soft enough to flow, strong enough to carve mountains, Let your kindness be firm, your boundaries clear, and your voice steady. Let the world see that strength and softness are not opposites, but partners. The most powerful people are not those who dominate. They are those who move with purpose, respond with clarity, and live with courage and grace. When you embrace this kind of strength, you become unmovable in your truth, unshakable in your dignity, and unstoppable in the life you are meant to live.